A message every week to log into the class. Again, no reply. Yes, Apurva, what did I ask you to prepare for today's class? So, Apurva, are you prepared? For what have you prepared? Yes, both the Apurvas can answer. Apurva M and Apurva JS. Now, for this also, should I force you to answer? Apurva GS, have you prepared for both? Or any of them or none? You're typing or not typing, or you have a network issue? Apurva M, what about you? At least saying you're not prepared. Okay. People typing from 3 minutes. The rest of the students, only 62 people. 9:45. Let me take the attendance. We start from USL 1. 1. Answer your attendance. Asta. Answer your attendance. Apurva, I don't want you to type the answers. Have you prepared? I just wanted to know that. Fine, before that, please answer your attendance. USN 1, USN 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15, 16, 17, 18, okay, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 25 is absent, 26, 27. What, Bhargav? Yesterday and all you were absent? You logged in later as soon as I asked your question, you logged out. Can you switch on your microphone? And can you talk? Why, Abhijit, you are late? You are answering your attendance now. 28. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I had logged in only, ma'am. It's what, almost 20 minutes. 29, 30, 30, Chandan, absent. You also, Anaga, 31, 32, 33, 34. It requires around 5 minutes to send a message. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Kaganashri, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. हाँ ma'am, thank you ma'am. 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Absent Manasa, 60, 61, 62, 63, 63, Anish Shetty, 64, 65, where is 65? Kamal Nayan, absent. 66 over 66, 7, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. Mahesh Yadav, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 84, Monish, 85, Mohammad Zidane, 86, 87, 88, 89, Naveen Kumar, 90 is not there. Okay. And the next attendance, I will, if you think, yes, Bhanupriya, why so late? The next attendance I will take at 11 when I will be stopping this session. This is for the first class. The next attendance will be for the second class. Now, I want to be, I will check Sir Abhijit. I wanted to bring to your notice that, see, if you have any doubts regarding the questions that needs your writing, that is your assignment, whether you want to submit your assignments or you want to do any such things, you want to ask me something, I would request all of you to please message me during the college hours between 9:30 to 4:30. Yes, you can message me even after that if there is an emergency. And even after that, if you send me any message, I don't think so I will be in a position to respond to yours. If you ask me to send a PPT at night 8:30, I will not be in a position to send because all the data what I have to send it to you, it is there in the college system. Even the textbook also I would have kept it in the college. If you ask me whether the answer, how much you should write or what, whether it is, I cannot answer your questions. So I would request whatever doubts you have, please post it during the college hours and also during the class. After the class, any time I will give you 5 minutes time will be there. Yes or no? Will I continue even after 2 classes? If yesterday my class is till 1:10, at least I will leave by 1 o'clock, 1:05 like that. You will have 5 more minutes time. So I would request everyone to any doubts you have, any clarifications, you can please put it during this time. And even, yes, ma'am, we will be having classes during the other time. Lunch break, short break, if you remember what you have to do, why can't you put it, note it down and put? If you can't remember and put about one subject, if I get so many students, message, not only you, fifth semester, everyone, and also in the groups, daily I get around so many, 15, 20 messages. Not even that. From your group only, I will get around 20 to 50 messages. I will never know who was what. So, and by the time yesterday, if someone would have sent a message, by today, I would have forgotten what they wanted also. And I will never reply back. So, if you want a reply, I would expect you to message me during the college hours. Fine. Who was the person yesterday who wanted PPT for object oriented second module? Who asked that? Karthik MR. Okay, Karthika. I will share that PPT. Okay. I will upload that and I will share that PPT. Hmm. Maybe after this class I can do that for you. Fine. And the other thing I wanted to request all of you is, tell you all people is, in case if you need the recordings of SE class, please download the recordings. I don't know till how many days this Google Meet will support that, because these days we are getting messages that actually by now they had told that by October 13th, I don't know why, but by October 13th they will remove all the recordings. Okay, so in case if you require any of the SC recordings, please download it and keep it and access that. I will not be keeping a record of that. So in case if you need, and after 1 month if you ask me to give the recording, I will not have that. So in case you need, I will leave it to you. Whoever wants to download, you can download. I think you can download it, right? Can you download it or not download? Like given rights. You cannot download the Kamal Nayan? Okay, let me change the settings to. Sir, you people will be using at least any of the student who has that unlimited whatever plan you have taken and has a laptop, you people can download. You can ask them to download. That's it. Because we will be doing it in the college system, so I don't know how many, what will happen here. Okay, and the drive what we are doing is using the college share, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it is a cost problem or it is a license problem. It is saying that after that it will not allow. Janvi, right now we have not got any information regarding that, Janvi, regarding your internals conduction. I think from the university they will tell or something like that. But from what circular we received, 10 days before the test, they will be informing it. First test. So you should be prepared for the first test portions anytime now. So that all depends upon the government decision, right? It is not dependent upon the college and also university. It is dependent upon the government decision. Once the government decides, only then the university will be able to take the decision on that. Fine. So all of you are prepared for use case and sequence diagrams? So ma'am, you're not asking today, okay? Yeah, the other thing, the 5 questions assignment. Have you all written? Yes, please don't send me to WhatsApp message or to the mail. By tomorrow, I will create a drive link for you. Fine, to upload your assignments. In a Google Classroom, I will create a separate folder for you, and I want everyone to upload your assignments there. Please don't send it to me personally. Do you think I will have enough mobile space to store all the 90 assignments? So tomorrow I will share the link where you need to upload your assignments. Is it okay? Tomorrow is the last day, right? Guys, reply. Yes. So anyone who does not know also. Tomorrow is the last day. By the end of the day, please be ready. Scan it and keep. I will create a Google Classroom and share the link. So the first 5 questions, it should be ready and you should have uploaded. Okay? And next week sometime I will open any of the assignments in the class, in the online class, and I will check randomly, whoever it is. So don't think simply you write something and you upload, it is okay. No, I will check everything and I'll open in the online class and ask you to explain that. Is it fine? I know some of you sent it to me. I told you, no, I could not check it. So I will upload that. I'll give you a link there. You can upload. Fine with that? So I require some of the students are not attending the class, maybe two or three. Apart from that, I want all the 85 or 87 student assignments to be uploaded tomorrow itself. So let's start with today's topic. Ma'am, you didn't ask us questions. So who is ready to explain? Unmute the microphone and explain about use case diagrams and sequence diagrams. Someone who has prepared? Or do you want me to name? Fast. Lavanya, can you explain? Okay. Apart from her, Anagha, Asta, Anish Shetty, Abhijit Kumar, Manasa, Bhanupriya, none of you. Okay, fine. I'll give you another chance. At least by Saturday, prepare for use case diagrams and sequence diagrams. And I want anyone to explain. Saturday afternoon class. Okay? And people who will be giving that will be Asta, USN 1, Abhijit Kumar, USN 3, and Chandrakant. Three of you. So let's start with today's topic. Structural models. First, you learned in system design and modeling, you learned about three things. First was which model? Context model. Okay. Then you learned which model? Interaction models. Correct? Yes or no? So you learned context models. Fine. And then you learned interaction model in the last class. In the interaction model, you learned two things. What are they? Use case diagrams and next is sequence diagram. Fine. So these are the two things which you learned. What do they represent? They represent the interaction between the system components and as well as the interaction between the input and the output. What does control models depict? They discover or they tell us what is the environment of the system and the functionality. So basically it will tell what is within the scope of the system and what is not within the scope. Okay. So after all this two models, you have another model known as structural models. What are these structural models? These structural models of a system show the system components in terms of the shows the organization of the system in terms of the components of the system and their relationship. So, in structural model, it does not show how they interact or what they are doing. Rather than that, it will show the different components of the system and how these different components are related to one another. There may be one or basically in this model you will try to identify the different models, I'm sorry, different components. And once these different components are identified, what do you do is you try to find the relationship between each of these components. Okay. Let's say, for example, a log Gmail system. In a Gmail system, if I take, I will try to identify the different components like login component, viewing the message, or composing the message, or attaching or something, attaching a file. Like this, I identify the components. Now, login is attaching a file is linked to composing a message, right? And all of these is in turn related to login module, something like this, right? So this structural model, what does it do is it will try to find the different components of your system, and once you find the components, we try to identify the relationship between these components. These structural models can be of two types. One is static model and the other is dynamic model. What do I mean by static model? A static model which shows the structure of the system design. Okay, one is the static model here, which shows the structure of the system design. Okay, it shows the structure of the system design. Then you have dynamic models. These dynamic models show how the system is or shows the organization of the system when it is executing. So dynamic means which is something which is happening, right? It does not remain fixed. So these dynamic models show the system when it is executing. Okay. You create structural models of a system when you are discussing and designing the system architecture. When do we come up with this model? When we are discussing, see, it does not come under requirements gathering. If you see interaction model and all, it helps in requirements itself. But these structural models will come into picture when we are designing the system architecture. Okay? So this involves architectural design of the system, and in structural models you have other types of diagrams called class diagrams. So these structural models involve a system, involves a diagram called class diagrams. Have you learned class diagrams? Learned or not learned? Yes. Anyone who does not know about class diagrams? Aditya Raj, not Aditya Raj, Aditya Verma. Are you there in the class, sir? Aditya Verma. Aditya Verma, I asked you, um, have you learnt about class diagrams? Yes, sir. Thank you. So in the second module, I completely taught you about classes, object, class diagrams, and the links associated with the classes, generalization, specialization, associations, so many things, right? So one way of representing the structure of the structural model is class diagrams. So again, it is a repetition of what you have learned, but okay, some things are not here. I mean, it's not defined. What you have learned there is not defined here, but still, I will explain once what and all is there in this textbook or in this topic. Okay. So you can read this. Class diagrams are used when developing an object-oriented system model to show the classes in the system and the association between these classes. So can I write an object-oriented or a class diagram for a C program? Yes, can I write a class diagram for C program? Yes. See, these object-oriented class diagrams are comes into picture only for object-oriented modeling. So wherever we use object-oriented modeling, only then we can use class diagrams. Because C programming language is a procedure oriented. We don't use class diagrams there. You can use yes sequence diagram, use case diagrams, but class diagrams does not come into the picture there. Okay. So class diagrams are used only in case of object oriented system models. And to show classes in the system, what does it show? It shows the different classes in the system and also association between these classes. Right? So, how are classes represented in UML? Rectangles, boxes, rectangular boxes. And there is an association between these classes. Fine. That is given by a what? A line between the two class association. And it is labeled by an association name. An object class can be thought of as a general definition of one kind of system object. Yes, an object is nothing but an instance of a class. Fine. So we can generalize objects into or group objects into classes. I hope you know this also. What is an object? What is a class? So there can be a student class and an object within that student will be any of the students like Kavya, Aditya, Lavanya. All of them will be student objects. And the class name is nothing but a student class. An association is a link between the classes that indicates the relationship. Now, if I say there is a faculty class and a student class, there is a link. Maybe the link is based on the relationship. From the faculty to the student, it will be faculty teaches students. Right? So when you are developing models, during the early stage of software engineering, objects represent something in the real world, such as a patient, a prescription, doctor, etc. What can you represent as classes? Anything, real world entity, right? I'm sorry, not any entity. It may be real or it may be an object or something which is um, like not, I'm sorry, not a person also can be a class, right? A patient, prescription, a doctor. See, in the second module, you learn different examples, like for bicycle, triangle, like that. But here in this module, what you will learn is you will learn class diagrams for patient healthcare monitoring system. For that, you will learn class diagrams. Fine? Am I clear? Do you want me to explain again what is class and what is object? It is okay, right? I have given enough number of explanations. So UML classes and associations, you might want, so you can use unified modeling language classes way of for representing classes and their association. Now, one thing you might wonder, ma'am, how did I say that? How do you write classes? Something like this, right? Something like this I wrote, right? Here on the top, I had the patient name, class name, and here I had the attributes and the functions. Do you agree? Yes, do you remember what I thought? All of you. But here I'm writing only as a single rectangular box with a class name. There are discrepancies, right? Which is correct, you might may ask me. See, the correct way is this only, the rectangular box with a line. Here they have written a shorthand form of it. That's it. Rather than giving the attributes and the functions explaining everything, they have given a shorthand notation for that, only with the class name. Later you will see that this class will in turn have the attribute name and the functions. Okay, so what does this mean? Can someone explain me this class diagram? Which are the two classes? Okay, I will only ask people. What are the two classes in this figure? Amog, Amog Bharadwaj. Which are the two classes, sir, in this figure, in this class diagram? Amog, not there. Anaga, Anaga Inamdar. Yes, Anaga, which are the two classes in this class diagram, what you are seeing? Can you identify? Patient and patient. So Amog says patients and patient record are the two classes. Okay, Anaga, you also say. Anyone has any other answer? Shivani, is there a relationship between the two classes? That is there any association between the two classes, patient and patient record? I'm asking about two associations. Okay, what is those? What are those associations? Aryan, Aryan and Shivani both can answer. Yeah. So you said two associations, right? But only there is one association. One patient is associated with one patient record. If I want to say that one patient is associated, okay, fine, Shivani. If I want to say one patient is associated with one or more than one record, how will it be? One patient is associated with one or n number of patient records. Hmm. Okay. You can say one dot dot star. Like, hmm. Okay, I will also type only one or okay. Uh, Fine. Aryan, one star is not there. One dot dot star. Fine. Now you people all know or someone is helping you to type these answers. If you're really answering on your own, I'm extremely happy if you're remembering that much. I hope you're answering without any help. Fine. Good. Okay. So then I think I need not have to worry too much in this chapter. This one. So you have different classes and associations for medical healthcare system, personal management, personal medical care system. So can you now understand this class diagram? Do you really want me to explain? Come on, fast. Which are identify the different classes and how what are the relationship? See, in the previous thing you didn't patient and patient record was there, right? Hmm. Okay. Here you don't have patient record. Okay, fine. But see, if you go for a class um, patient and consultation, fine. So this is the patient here, and this is the consultation. Okay, so it means that the patient class is associated with the consultation class. And what is the association? Patient attends the consultation. So it means that a patient attends the consultations, and one or n number of patients can have one or n number of consultations. Agreed? Yes. So this is a typical class diagram for patient healthcare monitoring. Okay. Can you go through this? I'll give you 5 minutes. You can go through this, and if you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay. I think 5 minutes is enough. Okay. Any doubts? It's very simple. Can someone say how many classes are here in this? Guys, how many classes? Come on, fast. Eight. And how many associations are there? Associations? Associations? Yeah, seven associations. Fine. And I think association also you can see how many of them relationship between them also, right? The multiplicity, what we call. One consultant is association is associate first where so first one there consultant and patient, okay, so one consultant is associated with one or n number of patients, so that is called as multiplicity. Fine, this is very clear, right? So next, see, actually to represent a class, this is how you have learnt. On the top, you have the class name. Below that, you have the set of attributes, any number of attributes. Sometimes we give the type also, whether it is a string, whether it is a date, whether it is a number, and so all of that. And secondly, you have all the functions that can be put on these attributes. Okay? Fine with this? Next, we have generalization. What do I mean by generalization? Can someone say? A line with an arrow mark. Where does the arrow mark point to? Parent class, child class, super class, subclass, base class. Do you remember all that? That is, whenever we can have common information or certain information is duplicated, then what we can have is all the information that is duplicated or shared among different classes will be put in a one class. That class is known as a superclass or the base class. And the other classes will inherit or get the properties from the base class. So the class from which we get the properties or share the properties is known as the superclass. And the child which inherits these properties is known as the child class. Fine with this? So this is technique is known as generalization. Why do we need this generalization technique? For sharing the data, reducing the redundancy in the data, and also yes, for accessing the or updating the data or maintenance of the data, this generalization is required. So where can we apply generalization most of the times? Yes. To which problems can we apply this generalization? Whenever there is a classification involved, if a system or a project which you are working on involves classification, like if you're working on a student college, okay, there is a classification, right? University, college, and within that you have branches, and then you have students, or for vehicles, vehicle, then two-wheeler, four-wheeler, eight-wheeler, or three-wheeler, something like that. And within two-wheeler, again, there is a classification. Within four-wheeler, there is a classification. So wherever the classification is involved, there you can apply this generalization. How can we give a generalization? Generalization is given by a line followed by an arrowhead. The class to which the arrowhead is pointing to is called what type of class? The arrowhead is always pointing to base class or subclass. Yeah, parent class. So the arrowhead will always be pointing to the base class. So the same thing here. See, for all problems, object-oriented problems, you cannot try to apply generalization. If you're coming up with an IoT project or something like that, or some cases, generalization will not apply. Let's say, for example, your email system, okay? I gave you an example of this email product which you want to develop, right? With different components like what composing the mail and sender information and receiver, all that. There maybe you can represent it using object oriented model, but maybe their inheritance is not possible. That is generalization. So you have to observe your system and look into whether you can have whether there is a scope for generalization. Not all problems will fit into that category. Okay. So in object-oriented languages like Java, .NET and all, generalization is supported by inheritance mechanism. Okay? In generalization, the attributes and the operations associated with the higher class are always associated with the lower level classes. The high level class is called the superclass, and all of this, I think you can read it out. Whatever I explained, it is given there in the slide. So there is a generalization hierarchy here given. think you can go through it. Okay. Hmm. Ganesh A. Which is the parent class of, okay, fine, Ganesh. How many classes are there in this example, in this slide? How many classes? 7. Good, sir. Gaurav Maurya, can you tell the base class? Okay, first, can you tell, is there generalization in this example? What? No, ma'am, sorry. Is there any base class subclass that is inheritance in this class diagram? The concept of inheritance has been implemented in this class diagram, or it is only an association between different classes? Did you get the question? Okay, inheritance is there, I guess. Guess? So where is it? How can you tell whether there is inheritance is there or not? How did you identify? Just simply? See, I have this right arrow mark. As soon as you see an arrow mark, it means you have generalization. If there is no arrow mark, let's say for example, I just have this line here from hospital doctor to general practitioner. Let's not think about logically. So this means there is a relationship between this and this, but it is not generalization or inheritance. But in this case here, hospital and consultant, there is a generalization which exists between them. Okay, fine. Now, can you tell me the parent class of the trainee doctor, Gaurav? Which is the parent class for this last trainee doctor class? I'm talking about this one. So, which is the parent of this trainee doctor? Did you get my question? Is the hospital doctor the parent for trainee doctor? Think, sir. Um, Pranati, can you answer? Team doctor is the parent. So, what Gaurav is telling is wrong? Okay. Gaurav, please observe. The parent for trainee doctor is team doctor. Okay. Hospital doctor, okay, and doctor will become the ancestors for trainee doctor. So, this trainee doctor, please remember this is known as multi level inheritance, all of you. So, this trainee doctor, okay, here, this class will inherit the properties of the team doctor, which in turn, see, this team doctor is in turn inherits the properties of Hospital doctor. This hospital doctor in turn inherits the properties of a doctor. Fine. So this trainee doctor will inherit all the properties of this doctor, hospital doctor, and team doctor. Did you get it? Let's say, for example, a doctor will always have a registration ID or something like, right? So let's say the property of this doctor is that registration ID. Fine. And hospital doctor also has a property known as hospital ID. Okay. Team doctor will have an attribute known as what? The specialization. Okay. Maybe he is working as an anesthetist or a pediatrician. Okay. So this hospital doctor will inherit the properties of the doctor, that is the ID. Okay. Registration. Then this team doctor will inherit the properties of the doctor, that is the registration ID, and hospital doctor, that is nothing but the hospital ID. Fine. Let's say this trainee doctor.
ಅದರಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ ಗಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜೆರಾಕ್ಸ್ ತೆಗಿಲಿಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ ಇರೋದು ಅಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ.
Chandan, can you mute your microphone? Fine. So the trainee doctor will inherit all the properties of these above classes. Fine. It's okay, Chandan. Fine. I'm glad at least you were listening. As soon as I asked you to mute, you muted. Okay, it happens. Did you get this, guys? I'm sorry. I don't think I need to explain more, right? You know how this works. Any doubts, you can let me know. Shall I continue? So, see, that was the shorthand or easy way of writing. But usually we have to write class diagrams like this, like what I taught you in the second module. The class with its attributes and functions and subclasses which inherit the properties of the base class. Any doubts, guys? There is something known as aggregation in object class models. What is this aggregation model? Shows that some classes are collections or are composed of the other class. That is, this is not generalization, inheritance, getting properties. Here it means that one class is composed of the other class. Okay? Fine. So aggregation models are similar to the part of a relationship in semantic models. So by combining two classes, we can have a single class. For example, let's take for this patient record. This patient record is comes from the patient information as well as a consultation information. See, patient record consists all the data regarding the patient and also after the consultation, like what was diagnosed and what are the medicine he should take or he is taking, all that will be given. So both of this constitute a patient record. So this aggregation association gives that. And how is this aggregation given by? It is given by a diamond marker. This um, this is a new concept which you had not studied. Okay, so this diamond mark here, if you can see, so this diamond mark here gives the aggregation. So it means that this class patient record is composed of patient. Okay, and the relationship also association is also given. So one patient will have been this patient record is associated with one patient, whereas the patient record is associated with or is aggregated with consultation also. But one patient record can have data related to one or multiple consultations. Okay, did you understand? This also is aggregation here, and how there is a multiplicity associated with this aggregation also. So one record is associated with one or more consultations. Okay, aggregation means one class is composed of more than one class. So this patient record is composed of both this one as well as this one. Okay, how do I represent it? I represent it by a diamond here. This diamond here and also this diamond here. Fine. And there is a what do we call it as multiplicity associated with them. Fine. Any doubts here, students? So So let's go to the next type of model. I finished what are the different types of models. First is the context model, which tells us what the system does with respect to its environment. What it should do, what it should not do is given by the context model. Then you have interaction model. What does interaction model tell? Interaction model will tell me when an input comes, what should happen, or when an output goes, what should happen, how it should, the components of the system should interact. All that is given in the interaction model. Two ways in interaction model are use case diagram and sequence diagram. Then we have structural model. Structural model gives me the structure of the system. Okay, what are the different components? What are the data elements involved in these components? What are the functions involved in these components? Basically, all of that is discussed in the structural model. To represent the structural model, what diagrams do you have? Class diagrams. Okay, and also class diagrams which will have generalization, aggregation, and all that. See, most of the times for your exam, they might ask generalization and aggregation. Okay, so this chapter is actually very important. So we finished with structural models. Now comes the behavioral model. So what is this behavioral model? See, Ankita, what does this do is, Ankita, right? Yeah. In generalization means it is inheritance. It means that it takes this property, that is, mm, here it means that patient record will, if I say instead of this diamond, if there is an arrow mark, means this patient takes some properties from the patient record. Okay, this patient will have his own properties. Along with that, he will take the patient record properties. But in aggregation, what happens is, let's take for example here, patient record is composed. This record will not have its own unique properties, but it is constituted of this patient and its consultation. Okay, there is no common data or unique data with respect to patient record. Fine, it is what it gets from this patient and consultation. Okay, there is a thin line of difference. Um, I can say. Fine. And you can say, ma'am, I can implement it using generalization only, this attribute. Yes, you can do. But programmatically, when you try to do this, it is not possible. So they tell it as nothing but this is consists of this and this. Fine. Um, let's say, for example, if this is not there, okay, how can I tell? Um, see, um, let's say this patient record is one class, fine, and this is consultation. See, patient is one class, consultation is one class. This patient record is another class which has all the data, okay, of patient and consultation. Fine. It can't do inheritance, telling that I will retrieve the properties from the patient. Okay. Otherwise, what happens is it has to retrieve from here also, and it should have unique properties. Are you getting my point? So, you might tell, ma'am, this is what you are telling, right? Ma'am, let me say this patient record is taking both the properties. Okay. In that case, here patient record will have its own unique properties, and along with that it will take these properties. But instead of that, you can avoid inheritance and say that I can avoid this and I can use aggregation here. Okay, it is constituted with these two things, because when I okay when I try to do this, some of the programming languages will not support this concept. This is known as multiple inheritance. I don't know, some of you were asking that questions. So what you are asking here, it is something like this. Yes, it is possible, but sometimes it may lead to other problems. So in order to avoid it, we have this aggregation wherein it is constituent with those things. Fine. But yes, like what you said, there is a very thin line difference between aggregation and generalization. Maybe we can say this aggregation can be implemented using generalization. If I say yes, it is possible. We can do it in some programming languages. Concept is different, but we can implement it using generalization. Fine. Shall I go ahead? Okay. Next, this is behavioral model. What does this behavioral model do? It gives the dynamic behavior of the system as it is executing. Now, it will not give me components. It will not give me how the data is related. This behavioral model will show me how the system execution takes place. That is, during the time of execution, how the system behaves, that is given by this behavioral model. Now, basically, when I pass a data to the system, how does it respond? What is the data? What happens to the data? How is the data processed? If I give some input data, how is that data processed and how I get back the output data? All such kinds of things. If there is not data involved, there is some event happens. So how the event happens, it will trigger some system processing, right? So what happens during those processing of the event? Okay, the system may be in one state, it will change to a different state. How does the changes in the state happen? All that is given by this behavioral model. Now, see, as I said, all models will not apply for all cases. If you say for this mailing system, there I can't say event modeling, what happens to a particular events. There I can show some model for that because there is no change in state. But certain things, for certain examples where there is a change of state, for example, for your robot, okay, robot processing application. See, each time one event happens, there is a change in the state of that robot, right? So those can be shown by these behavioral models, but for certain applications I cannot apply. Okay, but data processing we can show for most of the applications, but event processing, it is only applicable for certain use cases or certain applications. Fine. So behavioral models show the dynamic behavior of the system when it is executing. Fine. In this behavioral model, you have two types of modeling: data modeling and event modeling. What is data modeling? Data modeling shows how the data is processed. Now, if I send a data A, what happens to that data? How is that data processed? Is some algorithm is applied to that data, and how does it process the data, and what output I get? That is given in this data modeling. Then you have event modeling. Event modeling tells, suppose some event is triggered. What happens after that event is triggered? In turn, will it trigger some other event? What processing will do? All that is given within event modeling. Fine. So data modeling will tell me about data processing. Event modeling will tell me about how the different events are uh, encountered, and when that event occurs, how do we how the system behaves. Okay, ma'am, I did not understand much about this data and events. Don't worry, next class I will give you an example for data driven modeling as well as and also for event driven modeling. Data driven modeling can be represented using your use case diagrams. Okay, how the data flows and what actually data flow driven modeling are represented by a diagrams known as data flow diagrams. There is something known as um, DFDs. Okay. Okay, so the data-driven modeling is usually represented by a diagrams known as data flow diagrams, which are very important. But I don't know, guys, why your um, what can I say? In your textbook, they have not given that or explained that data flow diagrams. Okay, so instead of that, they have shown the use case diagram only and said that this is where the data also flows. Fine, in your examination, you can say that only and write the answer. But usually, this is done using data flow diagrams. Maybe once I finish this module, I can take up data flow diagrams for one class and I can show you that. Those are very important. Once you start implementing projects, you will be learning. They will ask you to write data flow diagrams. Okay. This is what I find. We will stop at this stage. This is what I don't like. Okay. When I took the attendance, 75 students were there. 80 students were there, 80 like this strength. When I finished my attendance, there were around 70 to 75 students. Fine, I checked it. Now, at the end of the class, I said I will take attendance. I knew that count will increase. Now it is 82. What do you want me to do now? Guys, I really don't like this. Those who are doing, I will disable auto admit. Guys, I will disable auto admit and I will not admit after 5 minutes of my class starts. Do you want me to do that? Yes? Do you want me to do that? Reply. And I will not admit students after certain time period. Anaga, please wait. See, such kind of behaviors will not be tolerated. If you are not attending today's class, fine. Don't attend. You will be marked absent. It is okay. Anyway, what you require is 80% attendance. If there was college also, you wouldn't. Right? But this is not the thing, right? When the attendance is being taken, you come to the class and afterwards you just log out and go. So next class, if I see, I certainly agree you will have network issues. Sometimes you log out, you then rejoin. And that is the only reason I have put auto admit so that whoever has any problems, let them join and attend the class. But it does not mean that you log out when attendance is over and you log in when the attendance is being taken. So people then who are genuinely having problems, I have to suspect everyone, every student in the class. So don't think I'm not observing all these. Who are the students who are doing all these things also? Even though auto admit is enabled, I can check who is going out and who is coming in at what time. So if I observe and the students doing it regularly, I'm sure I'm not going to allow them or I will take some other action. Okay. Asta is present. I will not take the attendance once more. Only those who have marked absent, them I will be taking. Abhijit 3, present. 7 Aditya Kumar Agarwal. USN 7 Aditya Kumar Agarwal. Now I don't want to see anyone logging out. Anusha B. Why log out? Did I say class is over and did I close the meeting session? Or is the time over 11:10? Why do you need to log out? USN 15 Anagashri. See, regarding attendance, I don't have any issues for giving you attendance. But this kind of thing, simply coming and doing this I can't tolerate. USN 18 Ankit Kumar Singh. Ankit Kumar Singh, USN, 18. Absent. USN 25 Bhanupriya. USN 25 Bhanupriya. Okay, marked absent. USN 27 Sri Harsha. Absent. USN 30 Chandan. Okay. USN 40 Vasant Reddy. Okay. USN 45 Gaganeshri. Okay, Gaganeshri present. USN 65 Kamal Nayan. Okay, you said you're present. Fine. Gaganeshni, you're present. Okay, fine. 75 Mahesh Yadav. Okay, present. 71 Krutik. Harish Kumar, if I had marked you absent, I would have asked. USN 71 Krutik. Okay, absent. Fine. Monish 84. 84 USN Monish absent. Okay. 90 USN absent. Okay, fine. Okay, guys. Thank you. You can log out now.